I hope I
Okay,
hope we don't
here
get
we.
crazy.
What was that? What was that, Robson?
Hope we don't get crazy with my ADHD, bro.
Oh, dude, we're gonna get crazy today. Everybody who's just jumped in, who's now listening to this, we're gonna get crazy. As you know, we don't like to do like Robson and I have not met before. We got introed via another amazing guy that I met. He was on my last podcast. I ran some trainings when he was chief of police in Oregon, and yeah, so it's gonna be great today, guys. So again, remember this is Motivated Masculine Men podcast where we talk about men stuff. We talk about all sorts of different things, but ultimately just talk about how we can help men, or how our opinions and thoughts on masculinity in this day and age, and how young men especially can bring themselves up. But the most important thing, the purpose of this, the tagline, is to inspire, educate, and challenge men to embrace healthy masculinity, deepen their relationships, optimize their health, and step boldly into their purpose. So that's what we're going to go through today. And I look forward to it because I know Robson's got an amazing story. He's now, I believe, U.S. citizen. Do I have that right now, Rob? Not yet.
I'm still navigating that
Still
US
navigating
card.
that road, but I know you had a journey just
I'm
to get
still
your green
navigating that
card,
green
which
card.
which is what I'm very interested in, because my wife and I talk about, possibly moving back to the US. I'm an American citizen and New Zealand citizen, so I'm based here in New Zealand. Robson's there in Oregon. I love his background. It's absolutely amazing. But I'm still an American at heart, even though I left the US when I was 13, and I've been in New Zealand now for 20 years, sailed halfway around the world for 5 years. So kind of gives you a perspective. Lived in New Zealand well longer than I have in the US, but I still have a loving of the United States, and then also a hatred of other parts of it as well. But it's just like anywhere. You love and hate everything. If you don't have both, then you have nothing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, Robson, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your, like, what is it? Let's go, kind of 5 minute life story pitch, whatever you want to kind of talk, whatever you want to tell us about yourself.
Let's go from the beginning, right? So I grew up in in a suburb of like a Rio de Janeiro, for the most part black folks church. My dad is black, my mom is white, and we are in this community. So I grew up in this environment. Like every Sunday, going, I get involved in music. I play drums, choir, all this kind of stuff that you can imagine back in the day. I'm a 52, so and I grew up in one church, literally. And I remember like my parents, they moved to, let's say we are living in Salem, they moved to I want to say Portland, okay?
Yeah.
And then they're still going to church in Salem. That's what
Just
that
for
church and that community
perspective,
was
for
so
people that don't know, for perspective, what's the drive? What's the drive time for that? Portland to Salem.
well, Portland is at 45 minutes. That's
Cool.
from
Just for those that don't
uh,
know, like, I have a little bit of an
yeah.
idea of my best friend's friend lives in Salem, so she goes up there fairly often. She just says she's going to Portland instead of saying to Salem because nobody knows where Salem is. But yeah, cool, perfect, excellent. Carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
But the thing is, so I grew up. I became a pastor in a Baptist church. It's not a very conservative church because even though in Brazil we have two separate places that the south and the northern get more influence, but my side is more northern, like a not more conservative, like a you know what I mean? Like, but it's still the history of the Baptist church in Brazil is very conservative. So that's why I grew up and I became a pastor. I was pastor for 15 years, but I was not looking to be the kind of pastor like a being on a stage. That's not me. No, that's not who I am.
You didn't want to be the rock star.
No, I'm not. That's not me. And then I always, we're going to talk about the one thing is I struggle a lot, which is, so I did theology, philosophy. I kind of navigate being not an expert, but I did Greek language. I did Greek understanding about the Bible and all this kind of stuff, especially when it comes down to the religion part. So, anyways, I did this whole thing, right? And at one point, I decided not to be on the system anymore because here again, what my struggle was seeing tons of the money. Okay, for you who are listening to me right now, I'm not criticizing if you go to the church, if you like to go. I'm not criticizing any, by all means, anything. But this is me. That's what my decision was affecting me with the fact that, like, I can live with the money that people given for a purpose to help others. Because biblically, every money that we gather together in that purpose of Jesus Christ is to help orphans,
Hmm.
widows, people that cannot sustain themselves. That was the major focus. And then when Jesus says about there's no basis for request money in the New Testament, it's true. There's nothing that requires you to pay every money or to give donation, whatever you call, unless if the purpose to help those people that need our support.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. That's my biblical understanding. If you think differently, that's okay. It's not going to change anything. But that was my decision at the point because I couldn't leave with that. So, and then I decided to do law. So that's what I moved myself to be a lawyer. So to help people in different ways and
Yeah.
then have my professional literally because I don't consider pastor as a professional because pastor, biblically speaking, is the person who's giving somebody a way to, hey, there's the food over there.
Yeah.
So just think about this. Think about it. That's the pastor means somebody who
Yeah.
give you a guidance.
Yes, I was gonna say
I,
guidance.
I can't get money with that. I can get because this Holy Spirit, the Bible says, whatever you got for free, I need to give for free. So
Yeah.
I got for free, I need to give for free. That's the simple answer I can give you right now. So moving forward, I decided to because I was so that's just not a professional. So I moved myself from the system like I need to get a professional. I need to get a career. So I started doing it at law school. So but I did it in my 37s. So Brazil is a very hard economy to live. And when you turn 40s, you cannot go anywhere. You cannot change. When you turn 40s, like it means you're done. If you get that point and then your career is not solid, and then you're trying to change, and then you're not come from a family that can give you like a cushion.
Very difficult. Very, very difficult.
So I struggle with that. I got two daughters, and then this idea came opportunity to live in Canada. I start feeding myself with this, and the doors open. I got some friends in Canada, so I moved to Canada as a student. I got all the savings I could have, so I planned myself to live there off my savings. It was about probably my calculation was almost a year, but was gone like in 6 months because the currency,
Oh, it
that's the
kills you,
major
doesn't it?
problem.
It kills you.
It's
It's like when I come back to the United States at the moment from New Zealand, the currency is like 60 cents and just destroys me.
60 cents is not enough. The $1 is a five of mine.
Oh,
Okay, that's the difference.
yeah.
So it changed everything. What's the cent? I'm talking about $5 Canadian dollar. I'm not talking U.S. dollar.
No, you're talking about Canadian dollar. Yeah.
Canadian dollar.
Which to the US dollar is even worse.
Real worse. In different way. It's a public administration. So I did for quite a few, like a couple few years, and then moved to Canada. That move was brutal. I learned English by myself 2 years before I got in Canada in 2015. It was my 40s. My first job was flipping burgers, Wendy's, which is I love it, but was flipping burgers. Okay. Oh no, give me one. I'm not gonna give it commercial or anything. They're not sponsoring me anyway.
No, Wendy's is good.
Anyway.
I don't know. I'm a little bit more of a Carl's Jr. boy just because of my upbringing. My dad used to take us to Carl's Jr. Sorry, we're gonna diverge here. We're gonna go off topic so many times during this episode, so it's gonna be great. Yeah, when I was a kid, Carl's Jr. My dad used to take us to Carl's Jr. We'd get like a big juicy Carl's Jr. burger and meal, and then we drive across town to Wendy's to get a chocolate frosty.
I'm gonna give you, I don't know if you like Wendy's. I'm gonna give you a tip. So if you go to Wendy's, if you go to your drive-through, just making sure that drive-through is your ice cream or whatever is from the last night.
So drive-through is from last night.
From last night. Okay. If you go to front door, you're gonna get fresh ice cream.
Is it two different machines? The next time I go to Wendy's, I'm gonna have to interrogate these individuals and find out if it's the case here in New Zealand as well. Because if it is, you've just changed my world. I ain't going through drive-through to get any ice cream anymore.
Also, if you like the chili, are you ready?
Yeah.
If you like the chili from the Wendy's, it's pretty good.
But we don't have the chili. We don't have the chili, I think, here in New Zealand. No, I don't think we do. No, but I've had it in the U.S. It is quite tasty.
It's quite tasty, right? But the chili meat is from the,
I knew you were gonna say that. It's my wife. My wife, when she was younger, she's just turned 4 end of last year. she used to work at McDonald's, so she managed a couple McDonald's when she was, a teenager, early 20s, yeah, late teens. And she's got so many little insights. I don't know if it's still the same. We're talking 20 years later, but yeah, I don't know if it's still the same. But yeah, no, there's little insights. She's like, yeah, did you know this? She's like, I'm never gonna eat this again because I know this and I know that. I'm like, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Not that it's garbage. It's not that you're eating garbage. It's just that the meat that doesn't have the protein anymore because we just put it back on, put the water to
it won't taste the same. I mean, we do the same. You do the same thing, all the time. I mean, we do the same thing in your own kitchen. You have leftovers and you turn them into something different. So because it it won't quite have the flavor. So it's no real different. It's not like it's bad meat and they're turning it. It's not like sausage. Some of those really cheap sausages where it's like all the scraps off the floor and it's the chicken feet and the hooves and all that ground up into stuff to fill it.
It's not me saying those things, not me. Just for the record, you say no thing.
Hey, we all know it. We all know it. Nah, so okay. So yeah, so again, gotta love Wendy's. I still love chocolate frosty. There's nothing better than a chocolate frosty. We go off topic here, Robson. So you're working at Wendy's.
So and then people were saying when you move to another country, there's a stepstone is, but first of all, your student visa just allow you to work 20 hours. That's it. Okay, you cannot do more than that. However, you're not able to pay your bills. That's the point. However, I have a kid, so my kids was able to go to school, to public school right away because they got all the visas from me, so they were fine. But 20 hours is not enough. So I was, and then another guy came to me and said, "Hey, there's a job in this manufacturing industry," and I was being paid about at the time like a $13 an hour, and I was jumping to $19 an hour in a manufacturing industry. But the point is, but you have to work 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Man, I'm in, so I need it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I work with this company from the bottom. Is a packaging industry. There's a lot of ink solvent. It's industry on the floor. And of course you work under the table.
Yeah.
It was 9 years. I make myself up to be a coordinator, supervisor, and to the point they were asking me to go in the U.S. That's why I moved to the U.S. and I find my wife because I was working back and forth to open up a new facility in Arizona. And then that was giving more, perspective of the United States. And that's, I like it. I like that vibe. Because you know what? I was in Vancouver. And then the thing was driving me crazy was Vancouver is a coast. I'm from coast. I thought people was more friendly. But they are douches for the most part. I'm sorry. They are I'm not kidding. I was so happy. Summer, I'm gonna go to the bar and then I got like a beer because I like some beers, right?
Yeah,
some beers I really like.
Oh, so, good craft beers, man.
Perfect.
You gotta come to New Zealand. We've got some good craft beers down here, brother. There's some good craft beers down here.
But so we're sitting down there and then there's a dude look and what's up? The guy looked at me like serious. I was maybe got a bad day. Next day the same thing. What's going on here?
I have to say, I know a few people from Brazil, and they're the most friendly people in the world as well. So, I can just imagine what. I can just imagine.
And then, what interesting? People from Alberta, now Calgary, Saskatchewan, they were more friendly because in my mind, in Brazil, people from inside the country, they are not friendly.
It's funny cultures, isn't it? It's funny that
you learn. It's a learning process.
Yeah, it is. So you moved, and I want to preemphasize this because obviously we're talking about masculinity here, and we're talking about stepping up and doing what you have to do. And right here, Robson, you're talking about really, in my mind, the heart of what men are. We are providers, we are go-getters, we are hard workers, we're the guys who, we will, a true man will do what he needs to do. Sometimes that's stepping back and that's, holding space. Sometimes it's like, no, cool, we've got to win the fight. And it sounds like that's where you were at. It was like you weren't content with Brazil. You knew that you needed and wanted more. So you went and you got it. Now, I just want to bring some. I've got a question. You mentioned there around your kids coming to Canada with you. Were you married at the time in Brazil, and did your wife come with you? Yes.
I was married in Brazil.
And so your wife came with you as well. So you have that whole side of when you're saying 20 hours a week, I take it she wasn't able to work at the time either.
So this is another conversation if you want to go that far. Here's the thing: if you want to go a marriage, it's a relationship that has to have respect to each other.
Two-sided always.
It always. I'm not gonna say a thing about her. She's a really great mother. But when it comes to a couple, there's a different conversation. And then what I notice sometimes, like, when we become parents, we forget what the couple is.
You see it
And
all the
I
time,
made a
man.
lot of mistakes, and I made a lot of mistakes down the road. Don't get me wrong. But the point is, when we decide to move, I was about to get divorced at the time. This was my plan. But my oldest is not my biological daughter. And in my mind, it's all planning here. Okay, so it was a process that I was working on. And at one point, when we were moving to this new project, blah blah blah, we thought that, oh, this is going to change the perspective of the relationship. It did not. And it was us just aggravating the situation, the relationship. Immigration is not for everyone. It's hard. It requires you a lot. And then don't feel that if something happens, and I got a couple friends that the relationship did not go through after the immigration process. So I am not exception. It's happening. If something happens,
It's
but
hard
if
work. You're
you
moving to
don't
a different
have someone,
culture. You're moving to completely different stuff. You know,
yeah,
my wife and
yeah,
I talk about it all the time. We have to be very secure in what we're doing if we decide we want to move countries. You know, we've got to be very strong in ourselves, which we are. We've been through it.
Chris,
Audience is
you're
aware of it,
moving
but
well, but it's still like just
it's
think about
different.
it.
It's
You know,
different. Yeah.
well, but think about it. I'm not gonna try to compare what it is, what was not. So but we need to just be aware of one thing. One thing is you moving back to US or even somebody to US go Australia or New Zealand, still English, bro, still the
Yeah.
same, still
Yes.
the same
Yes.
English culture,
I
still the same.
completely,
You're
yeah,
not gonna
completely. Yeah, the language thing makes it a million times worse.
you will, yeah, there's some barrier like yeah, the Australian talk away or some there like
Dialects, but it's the same language.
instance language, okay, it's another country,
Brutal.
brother. You have no idea what I went through. Like sometimes
I don't.
my first 6 months when I got that job. So first of all, question from the manager to me: you want to be what we want to be when you grow up? This is my first question in an interview.
Is that at
43 years
Wendy's?
old.
Is that
No, this was when I got the next job.
yeah, manufacturing one?
It took me a while if I was in mind understand English or this something. What is the question? I just make it like a book face to him, but I think he was laughing. My answer was, "Man, I'm here to work harder. I'm just here to work." That's all. That's all my answer. But it took me 6 months to flip like a Portuguese English.
Yeah,
Every day was a translation, and every day was a headache.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not easy. And then it's still,
Oh,
I'm still learning. There's a lot of stuff
yeah.
that I don't know. Okay, but it's a different. So you move it from back here, you're gonna be fine. You just need to tuning yourself to, what the state you're gonna go. Is
Culture.
it, is it right there? But whatever.
It's just
The
culture.
culture,
It's not language. Yeah. So yeah, it
but it's
is. Yeah, man. Thank you for bringing the clarity, bringing that, like, really making that clear, because it is something that, like, again, you don't know what you don't know. So it's like you just staying there. I'm like, oh yeah, no, like I can't even compare myself at all to that situation.
here's the thing. You know what I was afraid of? Like I go in a doctor, go in a pharmacy, and talk to the phone. That was the three things I was super afraid of to do when I moved to there. You know what I was doing? I was calling people randomly, like a companies randomly, just to start training my ears to, talk to somebody over the phone.
Yeah, that's all. Again, though, that comes into that, like, can-do mentality, and that masculine type side. It's a masculine trait. Like, we make things happen. But I just the other day, yesterday actually, I just recorded a real short, like, 10-minute, little podcast episode for on you about confidence, and that just sparked out one of the key things that I talked about in that episode was repetition. Do the hard thing and just keep repeating it. if you you know, for example, you know, it's just practice, and you saying that, you know, you just called people up just to talk to them because it was what you were afraid of, so you're like, nah, I'm gonna go straight at what I'm afraid of, and I'm gonna get good at it, and you just literally start picking up the phone and just having conversations. It's like, now I guarantee, tell me if I'm wrong, Rosen, you're not afraid to pick up the phone anymore. Speak
Not at
English.
all. We're not making talk at all.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. So tell me a little bit about, so I want to dive into the first question. I know it'll get brought back up, kind of what happened with you and your wife, you know, your wife and all of that. But let's start kind of the first question I like to ask, and you know, get your perspective on is, what do you think healthy masculinity is? Because you've talked a little bit about, you know, we've kind of gotten to get to know you a little bit, which is cool. But what do you think healthy masculinity is?
So
Or
first
what
of
does it
all, we need to
mean to
define
you?
right. We need to define what masculinity is. So
Mm,
masculinity is just the fact you're a man, you have a gender, or you have your sex itself. This is a different conversation, which is I believe it's just two sex,
yeah.
man and woman. And then there's a difference between a man and it be male. And then there's a difference in it be a woman and female. So we're talking about different things and different perspectives. I'm gonna give an example. You can see a couple in a family that the man has more female traits, and
Mm,
then you can see a woman that has more male traits.
yes.
And then usually you're not gonna see that there's a gay or lesbian. That's not the point. And that's not what happens. What happened is the way you're been built. So you're gonna see for sometimes that woman has the law in the house. For instance, the mother sometimes has more a straightforward answer for the kids than the father, which is naturally we think this is the man thing. You need to be the. It's sometimes the vice versa. So we need to define what the masculinity and being a man is two different things. Masculinity is when you understand that who you are as a man. This is my understanding. This is my understanding in terms of the person and what understanding what the word it means. So you understand who you are as a man. As a man, we are built to provide. We are the one who strive to explore. We are the one who was the one is like a provide. We are the first responder when it comes to safety nets for your family. You're the first one to take a bullet for the loved ones. You're the one who's not gonna. It's not about no, man don't cry. No, no, you're the one who's gonna cry, but you're the one who's gonna cry fighting for. So
Mm,
that's the difference when we understand the masculinity means. I don't feel the masculinity is if I use a cute and then I'm dressed like a woman. That's not what it is. That's not what it is because you're gonna see difference. Well, somebody in the Scottish can use the cute, but if you go in Brazil, use that. People go, you're a woman, man. What's happening? That's not what it is. So we are sometimes looking masculinity just for appearances, or so just for what we have outside, right? It's like your muscles or your scars or your tattoos and all this kind of stuff. That's not what it is. It's the
uh,
fact that you are able to see yourself in the mirror and say, hey, this is my job. I need to do this. This is me. Okay.
yeah,
So, and then you are able to identify clearly your boundaries and then who you are. This is masculinity for my understanding is. And then what
yeah.
I do, and then there's another thing. So why I like yesterday I got emotional on my live on a TikTok because that's what I'm doing right now. And I was talking to my wife, and then she said, "Baby, you're doing everything possible. You're doing everything." So like I applied for 130 jobs, no bites, and I'm more than qualified. And then you start feeling really defeated. And then there's a point you got hit. Why you got hit? Because we are meant to be to to sustain ourselves with our own hands, metaphorically speaking, not just hands,
Well,
but your hands.
you go 2 million, 2 million years back, get rid of all the technology and all the modern day stuff, and that's what we did. You know, the men went out, we provided, we got the meat, we got all the stuff, then we came back, and that was the masculine traits, and it is in our DNA, and is why we get laser focused. It's why, you know, when we get
Yep.
focused on something, we are laser focused, and our peripheral
It
is not
will.
as good.
Yep.
Our peripheral is not as good as women or the feminine, and body, you know, the
Yep.
feminine person. Our peripheral vision is a little bit more narrow because we are designed to go out and spear and hunt and focus on one
Yep.
thing and get it. And you know, and we still do it to this day, you know,
But
yeah.
there's something that we need to think about it. Yeah, we do this, and God created us to do that. But there's one thing, and we don't pay attention. It's like a Adam disease, right? What's her? Not me. So when it comes down to the problem or the issues, we are going to blame someone else. But it's your fault because God told you what to do. God gave you instruction what to do. Okay, you should take her and talk to her. And if she missed something, it's on you. And then we need to address now. Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was me and her, so that was my fault. Take
Taking ownership.
responsibility.
It's
But
taking that ownership.
if you don't,
Oh,
your masculinity is not there. So this
no.
is something that you're
No.
missing.
And that's where we see, that toxic masculinity is that like hard exterior, that hard pushing things through, and like it's your fault and you did this, and that's where we get that toxic masculinity because, and then we get that bad name as men, or even women that are in that masculine. You get that hardness to you. That's not, as you said, that's not masculinity. That is being that quote unquote toxic, because as men, yes, we are focused. Yes, we do our best to provide in the ways that we possibly can. We hold ground, we fight, but at the same time, we also have to recognize that that's not what the only reasons that we're here. We're also here to hold space for our partner, to hold space for our kids, to actually take ownership and be like, okay, cool. And again, that's where the strongest men that we see, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, Robson. The strongest men that we see are the ones that actually, you see these reels all over the place. It's like the man that you disrespect that stays quiet is not a weak man. He is the one that is the strongest man because he knows that he doesn't need to react. And it's so true because we take ownership of our faults, we grow from them, and then we go, cool, what do we need to do to work on it? Is that actually true? And if it is something that is not true, then we fight for it. But if it is something that is true, we go, cool, how can we do better at it?
And then if we go for this path and see what's going on in this world right now, the world and the system is taking this masculinity, because masculinity is not being a male chauvinist, it's not being a bigot, it's not being a disrespectful person.
It's not being
Because
argumentative, it's being having conversation.
we are not here for that. That's the point. When somebody's not talking, so there's the two things with me. Okay, when somebody talking to me and trying to be disrespectful with me, I have two reactions. My first reaction is if I'm start laughing, it's because you crossed the line, and I would take you down. You're not
And
gonna see coming.
yeah, yeah, and this is the thing that loud the person who has to prove what they're capable of verbally or externally is the person that is not the strongest.
You don't need to say that you are. You just do. You just be.
Yeah.
You don't need to start saying.
Yeah. I always I always
Right?
I always say that I always say this, I might be the quiet one or I might not, I always say if you're gonna hit me, you better hit me the hardest you possibly can because you ain't gonna get a second chance.
Well, it's still. And then even though if you do it and hit me hard and I will get on the floor, okay, I'm a man enough to get up and say thank you very much and move. Because even though the point is not to get in a fight or
No.
to get in the argument to prove that we are right. That's not the reason
No.
that we are doing what we are doing. But when I have I struggle when I see unfairness or when I
Yes.
see injustice. This is something that it just hits me so hard that sometimes I can't get out of it.
Mm.
There's another part that I'm learning is the fact that I found out that I have ADHD. There's another conversation. So my entire life, I was blaming myself not to be like everybody else. So school for me was the terrible experience ever because I was not able to get the grades. But I was being on my records. I had teachers saying socially, he's amazing. He's a very helpful. He's a very cooperative. He's like a teamwork. Blah blah blah. But my grades was terrible. Okay, so but nobody was helping me there. So and then, but when I got I was in the military school, I got college and all this kind of stuff. So the theology, I was great because I was doing by myself the way I need to
Yeah.
learn. Nobody
Yeah.
was telling you you need to do this way. So, and then I just figured it out like a couple months ago. Like let's say it away, like I was in January basically when I was working and I got really hit emotionally and my stress, my anxiety, just because if you don't have ADHD, if you never know, how can I explain that? So I always blaming myself and not blaming
Mm.
anyone. And everything else happened to me is my fault, my fault, my fault. I need to fix, I need to fix, I need to fix.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
No.
It's just how you do things are different like how you do. My mind doesn't work linear. So my brain is everything is basically just sometimes I get stuck because it's like a words to go poof, and I need to pull where they are. Because that's how it works.
Yeah. Well, it
So
gives you, it
this
gives you, it gives you, once you learn something, it gives you perspective. And you go, oh, that's why it is. It's just like, my background so I was law enforcement for 7.5 years here in New Zealand, burned out, PTSD, almost ended up with a divorce. My wife is very strong, recognized that it was not me, it was the job doing it to me because I was different before the job. And so she stuck by me, thankfully. We're stronger than ever. But during that time, I recognized that, a lot of the stuff, reasons why the job and the things that I saw, which I wasn't involved in any. I mean, I've done trainings in police departments in the US and run people through like, burnout prevention and that in the US at departments. And one of the big things is, oh, your trauma's not that bad. I hate it when people do that. They compare their traumas. It's like we're all different individuals and we all like get hit by different things. But yes, and sometimes, this day and age, I'm going to put it out there and be that controversial person. In this day and age, we have become way too soft and we're letting little tiny things say, oh my God, I've got PTSD from it, and it annoys the crap out of me. But that's a rant for another day. But the things accumulated up and they got underneath me and destroyed me, and I became so hyper paranoid and everything. But at the end of the day, I recognized that it was all to do with the past. It was all to do with setup from childhood. Everything that destroys us these days, now is because of things that we were planted when we were a kid. The reason we are the way that we are was planted because of the way that when we were a kid. Once you recognize that, just like you said, you now recognize, oh, I've got ADHD. This is why, and it's okay. I'm not gonna use it as an excuse, but this is why,
no,
and this is okay. So now I can go, oh, okay, cool. I'm this way because I've got ADHD. Not that I'm going to use it as an excuse or use it as a poor me, but hey, cool. Now I get to actually go, sweet, I can actually sit in that. Same thing as our trauma or our past. Oh, okay. I want to be seen. I want to be acknowledged all the time. I'm the showboat. I'm the class clown, especially in the beginning when I meet people, because my dad left and went to chiropractic school when I was like 2 and I wanted his love. And so now I go, okay, that's why I do it. Now, do I want to keep doing it, or do I want to shift and change my patterns? Or when I start finding myself doing it, I can go, wait, that's my 2-year-old self coming back out again. Okay, cool. Now I'll shut up now.
so now you know the language, right?
Yeah,
You find
exactly.
that's the it sets you free. It
Exactly.
sets you free
It
when
sets you
you
free.
know
It
what it
sets you free. Yeah, you know what it is. Robinson, just real quick, because I'm getting a little bit of feedback, and I think are you getting feedback on your end from me?
no, I got
No,
nothing.
I think it might be your earbuds or something, and I know that we're still recording that. I just want to maybe disconnect and reconnect your earbuds, just because there's a little bit of a glitchy kind of sound. Sounds like we're in the Matrix.
I can take it out. See what it's
Oh,
better.
no, it's still doing it. I don't know what it is. Hang on. I'll mute you and then come back again. Go ahead and unmute yourself. We'll just pause the recording for a second. Recording it. Turns out we had no issues. It's just my headphones dying, so it sounds like I need to buy a new pair of headphones. Anyways. Hey, this is what we do. This is why we keep it raw. This is why we keep things raw.
Raw and organic, natural. That's what it is. I
That's what
appreciate.
it
I
is.
like that one.
Yeah, go ahead. Go. You sound like you got a thought process.
You no, these are other things. The ADHD does those things. I was just trying to finish that part. Like when we know the language, you're talking about, we cannot compare sufferings or what, and then that's true. And then masculinity, being a man, being a person. Let me rephrase. Before masculinity, we need to understand what kind of person we are. Who is this person? Where we come from? Why we are having those triggers and those reactions. This is what we, as a person, we need to do. It's essentially we need to understand that. That's not easy. It is not something that you figured out. Oh, I'm good. Now I know everything. No, you don't. No,
Continuous.
that you
It's
just open a one
continuous.
door. It's continuous. You just open a one small door that you can walk in through a more clear path. So it's the same thing. So ADHD is not a excuses, but it was a freedom. I'm still fighting for it because it's just recently. I'm just taking education to help me get focused better, and amplify your neural. I'm a dyslexic anyways. In the second language, and then everything is in the second language. Sometimes it get really stuck
Yeah.
in your brain. So it just yeah, boom, and then you need to reset it. You need to do something better. Yeah, understanding how as a person, and then as a man,
Mm.
understanding your masculinity, and so forth. as a
You know,
family, as a father, as a
I swear I probably have some forms of ADHD as well because my mind goes, oh, I got that one. And I always want to just like kind of run with it. I definitely have dyslexia because just things just kind of disappear and go all over the place. But you were saying with that, and what popped up while you were saying that is, I think one of the things that we've lost, and I feel like it's starting to come back. People are starting to recognize it without maybe being able to recognize it. Is, back in the day, years ago, before all the technology that we had and everything, used to do a lot more, especially as men, we used to do a lot more, I'm going to call them huddles, where we'd all get together and we'd talk about what's going on, not to the depth of women, where we go into high detail, but we'd have those circles and those spaces where we felt safe, where we could, I'm going to call it shit talk, where we could, kind of go through things, and then we'd have deep conversations, and then we come back to the, that kind of, the kind of joking and that, but we had those times where we would sit around a campfire and we would be like, talk about the day, talk about what's going on, where we're at, and learn about ourselves. And this is one of the biggest things, and this is one of the things that, after me leaving law enforcement, it's what I dove hardcore into was I wanted to know more about me as me and why I'm triggered in certain ways, why I was affected by certain stuff, so that I could be that better person and turn up to my wife better, turn up to my friends better. And it's a consistent, constant journey. But I'd love to hear from, Robson, how have you found that, masculinity over the years has shifted and changed? Obviously being a pastor and, doing that and then going into law and now working, in the fields that you're in now and moving across the world, second language, how have you found yourself, identifying or seeing the change in yourself over the years or in those around you?
I think there's one thing, respecting myself every day and try to respect myself as much as I can. Because if I don't respect myself, if I don't if I don't respect myself, I'm not going to be able to. If I don't respect and love myself, I'm not going to be able to love someone. The Bible is going to say you need to love God for everything. You need to love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you have nothing to give. Okay, so respect and love. There's two things I need to do to myself. So my new relationship, my new marriage is something that I never thought I could have. Love someone the way I love and the way I've been loved for her. It doesn't mean everything is rainbows and unicorn. No, it's not that. There's some fight. We are
Relationships
human.
are
The human that is
continuous
still
work.
human. Continues as it is. But there's a difference is the fact that I love her so much that even though in the bad days of her, I feel so grateful. I feel so attached to. I got so attracted for. And then sometimes that's what it is. And that's how it works. And then this changed everything because I open up myself to respect myself. I have done a lot of stuff that I should not have done, but I did because I didn't know better. Respond to your question or answer your question is by the time if we can respect ourselves and love ourselves, not in a selfish way, but in a way that you can understand that who you are as a person, what you're looking for, what you want, what you're looking forward. It's not just about I want to buy a house, I want to buy this car, I want to buy this property, I want to. No, no, no. I said it. I said it the other day. There's the five things that I really appreciated to do: faith, family, focus, fight, and future. There's five things. I need to live with that. Okay, because you can have your house and everything, you're still homeless because you don't have the sense of home. The home in your heart is first of all your faith, what do you believe, right? This is your home. Put your knees on a you wake up in the morning or whatever, and then you have that connection with God. And then the second one is the person that you love make you feel home. I never felt so home in my entire life, Chris. I was working so hard to not go home because I didn't want to go to that place where there's a fight. I was avoiding go home. I was a homeless for several years.
Yeah.
Living. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if
I
we
totally
don't
get it.
respect ourselves and then love ourselves, we're gonna destroy ourselves and other lives. That's the point.
Mm.
And then it's not a harder thing. So you don't need to go to a psychologist or you don't need to do it's something simple. Just look in the mirror, who you are, what do you want,
It
and
literally is
love
looking in the
yourself.
mirror and asking yourself those questions. Who am I? And what do I want
Who
today?
am I?
Who am I? And what do I want today? Literally, it can solve so many different things. I'm going to start using that a little bit more. As you know, you learn these things and then you kind of fall off them and you're like, oh, and then somebody sparks something back up. It's something that, yeah, definitely it is. It's just standing in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth and just asking yourself, who am I and what do I want today? And you can change your whole day's perspective and you can, evolve even more. Off the back of that, because I know it sounds like, and I just want to, I want clarity. It sounds like, so your wife that you moved to Canada with, you have since gotten a divorce with and found somebody different?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So on that, what are the biggest lessons that you've learned romantically in your romantic relationship from, obviously going through the journey that you did, moving to America, like moving to Canada with your ex, knowing that you wanted a divorce but not wanting to do it because of the immigration side of things, then going through that divorce and then now finding your current, what sounds like the love of your life, where you're like, oh my God, I want to be with this woman. I cherish this. And I get it. I'm the same way with my wife. I'm like, I went through a stage where I was like, nah, I'm done. I want a divorce. Almost cheated on her, wanted out, went through counseling, recognized that it had nothing to do with her and it had everything to do with all the trauma and where my brain was at. And now I see her every day. Does not matter what she's wearing, does not matter what's going on. I'm like, oh my God, I am so lucky to be with you. So tell us again that question, what's the biggest lessons that you've learned, in your romantic relationship with the journey that you've been on?
I'm not a poetry because the love is the most painful for them. That's why they can write so many good things. The Bible will say that love is not a feelings because the Bibles teach us to say, hey, we need to decide. We love God because I'm going to give a better example. Do you have a kids?
No, I don't. Not having kids by choice. No, I have nieces and nephews, which I'm looking after this weekend, which I love. I love dearly, but again, they're not kids. I've got dogs.
Okay, but here's the thing: when we have a kids, okay, we are not a father by definition just because you have a kid. Emotionally, psychologically, you a father when the mother grab the kid and say, "See, he's your father. Hey, your daddy." That's when we become a dad. Somebody introduced you to this little person right now. It could be not yours biological, but that person who carries the most relationship that does is that by choice.
Yes.
So love is a choice. Okay. We choose God because we understand there's a not rationalized, but there's a rational understanding that God is love. And then we choose. So love is by definition is a choice. And of course, feelings comes with it. But the most thing I learn is love comes with respect. The person is looking at you. That person respects you as you are, as it is. That person doesn't want to change you. That person that you have, there's a connection. That person doesn't want to change who you are, your hair, your color, your glass, the way you laugh, the way you joke, the way you did. No. But if somebody's trying to change your everything, that person doesn't love you. That person just loves herself because they want somebody to be like what that person wants for them. This is not a love. This is not a relationship. So what I learned, Chris, love is much more than just a piece of paper that you decide to get married. It's a person that you really commit with. And then there's another thing. If you think you have somebody, for those who's listening right now, as a lawyer, I'm gonna tell you this. If you think, oh no, she's my girlfriend. How long you been with the person? Oh, we all been like for 10 years. After 2 years, she is your wife.
Yes.
So, because what happened is that paper is just to facilitate a divorce. Okay, that's just it. The paper when we get married just to facilitate a divorce for the judge, for the administrator, but it's still recognized by law. I'm just giving this.
Yeah, I totally get. Like here in New Zealand,
you're
you're with somebody 2 years. You live in the same house for 2 years. You're technically married. They can take half your stuff anyways.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, once you hit a certain point, it's done. By law, it's committed.
That's the reality. So I did by heart. I did by mind, by choice. I did my entire life. I was living in the bubble to myself. So I create a wall that I would not able to express my feelings to anyone. And then here's the thing: this woman, she was looking my eyes, so she was looking at me. She was able to see me, and then I think that was an amazing experience. I was not expecting. You want to know where I find her? I was in Arizona in the bar and the rustic sport. I don't want to say the bar, but it was like the bar is in Old Scottsdale, super
Oh,
redneck bar. I was
I've got to
getting in
ask
trouble
which
there.
bar was it because I love Scottsdale. It's an amazing place.
Rusty Sport.
Oh yeah, I've been in there when I was there a couple years ago, and it's an amazing bar. It's a very cool
Yeah,
bar.
it is amazing. But I was refusing to go there. But anyways, end up went there, and she came with her sister and friends, and we started talking, and it was a life change. I just told her it's like the same day say the player has been played. That's what I told her.
It's funny. You have a similar one as my wife and I. Like when I knew. I was just like 6 weeks later we moved in together. We were living. We've been together since. I would have married her well before I did, except for I didn't have a job, and I wanted to be able to. My thing was if I'm proposing to you, we're getting married within 12 months because I'm not going to be one of those people where we propose, we get engaged, and 10 years later we're not married yet because of financial whatever kind of thing. But yeah, it's when and as you said, it's a choice every day. My wife and I say this all the time. Like people ask us, how'd you guys get through all the hard stuff that you have or the hard stuff that you go through, when things come
We
up,
just
or how have you guys been together? What have we been? We've been together since 2007, 8. My wife's gonna kill me if she listens to this. I always, get it wrong, but we've been together for 18 years or something crazy. And they're like, how do you guys? I'm like, we choose each other every single day. There was a stage, and I
right.
wholeheartedly say there was a stage where I stopped choosing her because of X, Y, and Z excuses, reasons, whatever it was. But I stopped choosing her. We choose each other every single day, even in those hard times where we want to throttle each other and kill each other. We still choose each other,
Yeah.
and so we don't kill each other. And those are very few and far between because we choose each other every single day. Rosen, what's your thoughts? Let's talk about the audience here for a second. For those young or those men out there that are struggling with their emotional connection with that because to choose another one, to choose your woman, or your significant other, to choose that woman every day can be an emotional roller coaster. Women are emotional. We have emotions as well, men. Just FYI, we are emotional as well. We just have a tendency to have those masculine traits where they don't show as much. But what would your advice be to give to men who are struggling with that emotional connection? Because we need it as
Well,
men to be the best man we can. We have to be able to connect with our emotions.
you're going to say something that's very interesting. I'm not going to go off the topic, but here's the thing. So, oh, we were mad, we were emotional, we did this. Understanding our personality is one huge point. Okay. So I'm from a place that my parents was not expecting me. My parents was not expecting me to, be part of the family. They already had two, and I was like, I don't have a picture. Just so you know, I don't have a picture. I have a picture from my 1 years old, a little bit more, 1.5. That's when I started getting pictures, and then I think like maybe that's the time that took them to. We got this baby here. Yeah, we need to feed this. You know what I mean? So, and there's a reaction. There's a reaction of my 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old, that my parents saying, my siblings was saying that I was throwing everything out of the house in the window, like a shoes, pillows. I was having this reaction, and my mother and my father didn't know what's going on, to the point there I was like, start talking to psychologists or somebody, and then they were saying that because when they found out what happened in the beginning, that the pregnancy, the rejection, everything. That's my reaction. So I have difficulties when somebody that has a reaction that rejects me. That's an emotional reaction that triggers me. Okay. So when you start understanding what it is, again, come down to the understanding your personality, who you are, who you come from, right? It makes easier. And I lock myself to feelings to someone else, some other people, afraid that you're gonna turn yourself back on me, and I'm not gonna let it go. I'm not gonna let that happen to me. I don't want to feel the pain. I don't want this, and then we start locking ourselves in this position. If you really want to understand how to embrace the opportunity, and it's not just like oh no, I'm gonna fall in love with everybody. I love everyone. That's not that. Not that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the rule of be a real person, masculinity, be a man. If you are young, and North America culture teach to have your loved ones in your high school, which is not true. So people get this culture. There's a culture mind that that's not helping you to be free to meet another people, and then pain is part of the process to grow, to grow. Okay, we cannot. If you try to avoid pain, you're never gonna grow. You're never gonna uh, 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 get the maturity to moving forward. So we have to have the pain. So growing up, it's painful. Your joints and your it's painful. The same thing. If you don't meet people, if you don't let yourself open to be another person, you're never gonna know. Another thing is we need to stop putting expectation in others. So I don't have expectation to anyone I meet. I don't have. You know why? Because expectation is something that I create in my mind, something that you could have done this or you would blah, blah. It's my expectation. And you when you don't, you frustrate me, man. And that's the point they start feeling like you're not doing what no. You're not open to see what is happening in front of you because you have your expectation so high or bar, and then you're not able to have a relationship to anyone. So how are you going to feel something? How are you going to open up your emotions because you're not able to do those things? So understand yourself. Just lower down your expectation to others because everybody's is not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. So we need to lower down expectation and be mindful about having and meet another people. Meet people. We are meant to be to live in social settings, and then we don't enclose ourselves behind the screens, behind the house, because we are afraid to do that. And then you start getting depressed. The depression is never exist, by the way. There's no depression. There's no such a thing. Depression is something where you have nothing to do. That you I'm depressed. Go out, see people, talk to people. Just get hurt. It helps. And there's another thing. You're probably gonna love and fall in love for several times. That's okay. You start learning how to fly. So go out, meet people, fall in love, and that person gonna say, "No, I'm not in love with you." You're gonna cry. That's okay. It's fine. That's okay. Cry. Go lock yourself in your, your mellow music and songs and start crying. That's okay. That's fine. It's a process to grow up. And then when you pass this point as a man, you're able to have a fresh relationship or a mature relationship with another person. So I think that's the thing. So our culture can really tie us in certain standard. It's not true. And then that's why we sometimes you get in a marriage. I'm telling you, man, you get in a marriage.
Yep,
Where
I'm
am I?
here. Oh, that's weird. I've just lost you. I've got your background.
Where is it? Where is it? I'm here. What's happening?
That was weird. You turned into a ghost.
I don't know what happens. So, anyways, doing those things it help you to navigate in a process. That again, you asking me, well, Rob said those people that they are trying to experience this. It's hard when you don't have a social life. It's
Yeah.
really hard when you don't have. And then I'm talking about like an old school social life. Okay, let's go back when we don't have technology and everything. How you will find your friends on the street, knock the door.
Yeah. Well,
Let's
it's how
go
you
play
met. It's
outside.
not. It's how you met your now wife, the old school way. I say this all the time. I'm like, if my wife and I did get a divorce, and I had to go back, I don't know if I'd be able to go back out in the dating world because I've never. I'm not a technology. I'm not a kind of guy that's going to meet somebody off of a phone and swipe left and whatever it is that they kind of they're doing these days. I'm like, I'm a kind of guy that if I meet you in a bar and we click, cool, perfect, let's go home. If we don't, cool, let's not go home. And that's how like my wife and I met. It was literally at a barbecue. A friend of mine invited me to her house and I had nothing to do that afternoon. I was waiting to pick up another friend and went to her house and met her at a barbecue. I thought she was with the friend and then I found out she wasn't. So I asked the friend if I could have her number. And then we started texting and then we ended up meeting at a bar to have a drink together and hit it off. And then literally 6 weeks later, I'd moved into her house.
And that's funny things. I got a couple of people who say, "Oh, I'm gonna go Thailand. I'm gonna go Asia. I'm gonna go this because I'm gonna find people that can have a connection with me." Okay, fine. If you want to do this, just go. I don't care. You go Brazil as American. As soon as you start getting there, start speaking English, a lot of girls gonna jump on you. That's how you want. That's okay. But it's still you have to have some conversation. You know what my wife, she did. So when we met at the bar, I was very Brazilian, by the way. Okay. So first of all, I learned one thing in North America is you don't give your number. Okay. In Brazil, we give our number. Hey, this is my number. Call me. That's what we do. Okay. And North America, that's not how it works. You don't give your number because if you give them, you're creepy. That's not how it works. So I learned that lesson.
Especially these days.
What do you do is, can I have a phone? And she gave her number, but I was smart. So I'm just gonna confirm his number. I called her right away. They saw, oh, he's here. Okay, good. Now we got connected. So we were dancing, all this kind of stuff, and I kissed her. And the next day we go out. So she was on a vacation. I was working, but I was going out with her. But she took to the second day. I took her in the night. She spent like an hour in the bar where we were just asking me questions. She asked me all kind of questions. And then you know why I felt that she was the one? I was not afraid to answer any question.
Yeah, it's so funny. You and I have a very similar thing there. The day after my wife and I went to the bar, we chatted and danced and kissed as well that night. The next day she came and picked me up. I was living on my parents' boat at the time. She came and picked me up, and I stayed the night at her house. We stayed up all night long talking. Same thing, asking questions. And I had didn't at once, you saying that sparked that back. I'm like, at no time did I ever feel like I couldn't answer the question or that I couldn't be authentically me.
And then there's another thing I noticed, that she was the one. I gave my phone to her. I gave my phone and told for every single person that I was meeting. And I was meeting a lot, don't get me wrong. But that's not the point. But I showed her everything. I just opened. I didn't have any
the vest up.
page.
You opened the vest up and you went, here I am.
Show me.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then that's what she did. And I think it felt so good.
It's so true. Like, as men, women talk a lot about intuition. And they talk about following that intuition. And guys, we don't necessarily talk too much about it, but it is, I do voice on it, fairly a bit, but it's listening to that gut, listen to that intuition, listen to your, guys are actually really good at recognizing. Normally it's in that threat, like for me, for example, it's in that threatful situation. I know when shit's not right, and I'm like, okay, cool. I need to have my protector. I need to put my vest on as such. I refer back to that. But we also know when it comes to, those being able to know that we can be vulnerable. And it's actually listening to that and leaning into it. Yes, guys, you are gonna get it wrong, and you're gonna open yourself up, and you're gonna be like, here I am. Not in a sexual way, but in a vulnerable way. Here I am, and you're going to get shot.
You make it.
You're going to get shot down by the woman. And guess what? As you said earlier, Robson, it's needed. You need to get shot down, because then you can actually be like, oh, cool. I have this resilience. I can build this armor that, is helps me get through the days. But when I take it off, when you find the right person, you can take it all off, and you can literally be there naked, in an emotional sense. Then that woman, never let her go. Never let her go. And hopefully you have built that trust with her that she never wants to let you go. I know, and it sounds like, Robinson, you have the same thing. When you have that, and it's like, yes, there are times where I'm just like, oh my God, I just want to run away from this because it is just a pain, but I know she's got the same thing. But if you are able to have that trust in that relationship where you choose each other every single day, and you step back to each other and you go, I'm sorry, I screwed up. What do we need to do to work through this? And she's willing to do the same thing, then that is the best thing. And you will have that absolute most intense relationship. You will feel like a man as well, because you are there. I mean, there are days, I was raised very feminine. My mom wanted me to feel all my feelings and be that. And I remember being at a seminar, and my mom, my wife, and I were there. The three of us, and it was out the back of coming out of policing, and I was still working on myself. And this is part of that really hardcore growth time where I was like, had full throttle going. And I remember at the conference, one of the days was about relationships and about that. And then there was about that masculine, feminine kind of thing. And this is where I learned a lot around the differences between the two. And there are massive differences, and we have both. Just one will be more dominant than the other. And I was in my mind, I was like sitting there, not with my wife for that. They weren't near me. They're in different groups and around the 5,000 people that were around. And I'm like, I think I'm actually probably have more of a feminine trait to me. I think I'm more feminine dominant. And I was sitting there thinking that through, and at one stage, my mom runs over to me and she goes, I'm so sorry. I'm like, what are you so sorry about? She's like, I'm sorry I raised you so feminine and didn't let you be that hardcore masculine thing. And so that had my mind going, maybe I am actually more feminine. And at the end of the day, the three of us go home, and there are long ass days, like 12 to 16 hour, conference days. And we're driving back, and I go to my mom and my wife, and I go, I think I'm more like feminine dominant. And both of them turned and went, yeah, no. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, no, you are direct. You're want to go rough and tumble. Like, they're like, no, you have like all the masculine traits. And my mom goes, I raised you feminine, so you think that. And I was like, holy crap. And then my wife and I started talking, and I recognized why. My wife, because of being in the corporate world, and this is where the very much the I've got opinions on it. Well, I don't think we'll talk into it today, but around the whole like women first, the pushing women to be the same as men. I believe that they should be equal, that they should have equal opportunity, but the push to be the same as men. My wife ended up in a corporate world with all men and became very masculine just to survive and to work through. And she's recognized that now, has dropped into the feminine, allowing me to drop into the masculine. But when I became a cop, I dropped into that masculine at work. And I could wholeheartedly be like, I'm a man here. And then I come home, and my wife would be in the masculine, not knowing how to drop into that feminine, and we would butt heads. And we would butt heads hard. And so what I would do is I just drop back into the feminine, which would then piss her off, not knowing why, because I just make no decisions. And I still have a lot of those traits these days because I was in it for so long and she was in the masculine so long. And so we constantly talk about it, and we work on it, and we're always evolving. But once you recognize that, then it's like, okay, cool, we can work through that. But it's interesting that dynamic of, like we were talking about, it's knowing yourself. And once you recognize it, then you can talk about it. You can work through it. But yeah, it's an interesting journey because we're still on it, and you smiling, you totally get it.
You said something that was very important, that we still talk about it. So I learned another thing is the communication. So when something that she
Huge.
does and triggers me, and then she knows right away, so what happens, what's wrong, and then I feel free to say it, because whatever I will say, I know she's not gonna back to me in a sense like, oh, see, that's what I'm saying. No, she's not backing to me. She is listen. What I'm
Giving you
saying.
space,
So
giving you yeah. Go for
that's
it.
not
What were you
easy.
gonna say?
No, it's not easy. It's something that, again, now I understand the person, who this person is, understand what masculinity is, and being a man is. And when we don't know those roles, how they works, because you cannot put like a masculinity as your identity, yourself. That's not your identity. So as a person, who you were, is like I understand where you're from. Like, well, you just did. Well, my mom did this. That's the process. And then now you can be a man and you can play the role. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. And you feel great when you do it. Like, it's one of the reasons
Yeah.
that I started this podcast up, and it's the early days of this podcast, but it's one of the reasons because I was like, I need more masculine men connections. I need to have more conversations like this where I'm talking with men and we're being men. We're actually having these conversations. I'm like, I've touched more into myself of like, I remember as a kid, my dad used to smoke cigars and stuff. So you can't see it because I've got a background on, but on my dresser behind me, I got my dad's, because he doesn't smoke anymore. I got my dad's massive humidor. And when I was in America earlier this year, I bought like 6 cigars. And my best friend, he loves smoking cigars. So, I don't smoke them often, maybe once or twice a year, but it's like sit down and I'm like, I want to touch base into what I perceive, what I think is very masculine for myself. Sitting, having a rum. I'm a rum guy. Sailing days. There you go. I'm a rum guy, sitting down, having a rum and smoking a cigar because that feels right for me. Now, it might not be right for you. It might not be right for the next guy, but that's what feels right for me. But it also brings me and some of my buddies together so that we have something that we can sit there and they don't all smoke cigars, but we can sit there and have a talk, have a conversation, bring that bonfire circle back together. My neighbor, he does it. We used to do bonfire circles and stuff. We need to get back in, but it's those things of tapping into, once you know yourself, tapping into those things that are right for you so that then you can move, you feel strong, then you can turn up to your relationship and you can actually have that good yin and yang.
You're designing this what make it good for you. Like you're designing this bonfire and everything. So in my mind, you're designing on my reality is like what I used to do is like get my barbecue, open fire, get some beer. You can smoke some some clothes, and I like clothes stuff, or we can make whatever. But there's a samba, there's a music. That's my reality that makes me
Yes.
feel the way you just mentioned. What I
It's like,
miss this Myth is the most.
It's like
Stay
when you know
on.
your
It's
thing, you're
spot
like,
on.
oh, and I need to do more of it. I will put my hand up and say, I need to do more of it. I have a tendency to go try and just spend most of my time with my wife and that. But I know, and my wife will push me more. In the past, she used to push me more to go do my motorcycle rides and go do the things for me and go paragliding with my dad. Again, that's a very masculine thing to connect with my dad is to actually, go paragliding with him. And it connects into that childhood of myself of, hey, I don't want to, I needed to connect with him. And that is, again, in that masculine side. But again, paragliding is mostly men. So we'll sit on the hillside while we wait for the weather to get right. And we'll sit there and we'll talk. And it's, yeah, it's just all these things, knowing yourself. When you start to learn about yourself, it's so important. And the best way to do that is to actually surround yourself with other people and learn.
But there's a thing. So I wrote a book to start my business, right? So I'm working on those things, and then I came across. So I choose TikTok to start off this thing. So I'm trying to build this thing to build because I need to fund my business. I have no money. I got no retirement. I got nothing. So I need to fund my business, and then I found a way to fund my business through this book. So I need to sell 3,300 that I need to sell each one.
Well, tell us what
I
the
just
book
got
is so that the audience can go have a look so they can buy some to help you with the 3,300.
Okay, the book is One Man Shop, Big Dream. So I start talking about my life a little bit and talk about what happens, how to open a business. It's very straightforward. Just to start off to start funding, and then when I finished, I thought, hey, I need to do another one. So I got another one coming. Not this time. The fire with them is it's based on what the Bible says to us. Like the gold's being purified needs to go the 7 times on the fire. So I'm working on that concept in the second book. But anyways, I got the first one. And then there's my website. I've been doing this all by myself. Yeah, I do the Google Drive, Google Docs. I use ChatGPT to help me to do the images and everything. Everything's for free. I don't need to pay anyone. So it's on Amazon. It's on my website. $15 you can pay whatever. But I need to fund my business, so I'm using TikTok. And I came across this. I'm trying to connect what your last talk. I came across this thing called Dads Supporting Dads.
I've
Came
I've
across it.
seen it. I've seen it pop up on my TikTok as well. Yeah.
Why is that? Okay, it's a very interesting movement. Okay, so yeah, I'm using for to get connection, build a community because that's what I'm moving forward to track the algorithm on TikTok because I need people to see what I need to fund my business, and then I'm not just fund my business for myself. I want to build this business and then pass it on to someone else in the same situation I am in. And then I can give I can give for free. I don't care. I can give for free everything. Just do this, and then I will help with the money as well because now I got my business. I can make that
You
full.
can impact more. You can provide more. You can, yeah.
So that's the way we do. That's what we're here for. And then with dads supporting dads, things always just said it just showed me that we need that sense of community because we lost, and then we need that.
We have to. We have to have connection. My wife's an event manager. She has been as long as I've known her. She's done things from, conferences all the way up to taking people to Rugby World Cups, taking people to Hawaii, bringing people together. And when COVID hit and everything went digital, she's like, this won't last. People were talking about, oh, we can just go digital now with all of our events and that. And she's like, it won't last because humans thrive human connection and you can't get it through the screen. If you and I were sitting in a room together with a microphone in front of us or across the table from each other, the conversation would be extremely different. We'd probably go all day long. I know we'd be able to go for extremely a lot longer than we're going to today. But if we were together, it would be a completely different interaction. The energy would just be different as well instead of a
100%.
box. And it's so true. We need connection, which is again why I've created my movement, the Motivated Masculine Man, which will eventually be masterminds and be connections and stuff. I already run motorcycle masterminds, which is just bringing guys together and we ride motorcycles and then we talk about deep shit at night. That's literally what we do, and it's about bringing that connection back together. On the back of that, I'd love to know, as we kind of come towards the end, because yeah, go. You have a thought.
That's why one of those things that we try to live in bed because I want to get close to Corey. That's the person who's connected with this conversation.
Yes, Corey is great, and it's awesome. I'm trying to get Corey on here. He's like, nah, you don't want me to talk about my side, my views on masculinity. I was like, yes, I do. So Robinson, please push Corey to book a time to come
Oh,
talk.
we hang out a couple times in bed. It was pretty cool. He's an amazing guy.
Oh, he's an
Super fun.
amazing
So
guy.
yeah,
I haven't actually met him in person. I've done some virtual trainings back when he was police chief, and then he was on my old podcast called Fight the Burnout, a law enforcement, a police podcast. And so yeah, but he's a great guy. So yeah, he's got a massive heart, which is amazing. So on that, as we kind of get to kind of wrapping up, I'd love for you to just share a few of your habits and rituals that you do to help make sure that to help you connect into yourself and stay grounded.
So again, I'm a musician, right? So I like music. Music is something that always make me feel good. And then there's some sort of songs, it depends on the day I choose, and I just rock in the house. Boom. And it helps me. Okay. Another thing is looking outside. Even though it's in the windows, I need to see out. I need to see it. Having a summer and a sun just brings more sense of home because that's where I come from. I came from like a sunny place every day. This is one of those routines I really like to do, and then I do very well. And I'm not telling you so. Oh, you need to pray this. You do whatever you think you need to do. But in terms of the spirituality, it's not how much you pray to God because it's not a how much or numbers of the time you pray. But I understand that prayer is a conversation during the day with my God. That's what I do as well. So I like to, when I'm waking up, I try to mentalize and have a conversation. Thank God for today. Thank you for this night. Thank you for feeling your presence in my life. So it's gonna go and flow during my day. So this is and of course, yeah, your coffee, get something to eat. This is the kind of stuff. It helps a lot. But music is the main thing. Every time I feel myself trapped in something, I just I got my playlist, so I know where to go. I already set this for me. So I when I feel like I know where to go. I just hit back the house and I start singing. And I feel it, and then it just brings me back like
it changes that state. It changes our state. The music just change. I do the same thing, and you have different genres and different things for depending on the mood that you're in and what you want, the intention you want out of it. But music just it does that thing. It changes our internals. It changes our state. It changes how we feel. I love that. Amazing. So Robinson, before we wrap up, before I ask you the final closing question that I ask, I'm starting a tradition, so it's the same question every time. Tell us a little bit about how somebody can find the book. You've sent me through the links, so we'll put them in the description underneath this so that people can just go and click on them. So make sure you go have a look at those wherever you're watching, viewing, listening to this. But say it out loud so that people can actually get it. I know you touched on it already about the book, but yeah, how can somebody get in touch with you or contact you if they want to?
You can find all the information on www.krusticdesign. So krustic.com. www.krustic.com. So you're gonna have all the information. I'm working on the book to fund my business. I'm creating an affiliate program right now to get people involved. And I'm giving the 20% of affiliation, that's the standard. I'm going to give you 30% and 50%. So it all depends how much you can sell it. So I'm giving to the affiliation program up into 5%. On the program, when we hit the $50,000, we're going to give $5,000 for the top one, 2,500 to the second one, 1,500 to the third one. So it's going to be a project that we are doing. Okay. So this is all affiliation I'm building right now. I'm working on it myself. The book is on Amazon. If you have a Kindle Unlimited, so you can get the book there. And then Amazon will pay me whatever, $7 or something. But that's the goal. I'm trying to sell a book that I can fund my business. I just sold 20 so far. Nice. And it's been 2 months since I started. Okay. The book is raw, it's unpolished. So I did everything by myself. It's on a Google Docs. It's not, so don't expecting like but it's very nice, very interesting to read it. If my story not resonates to you, so the first book is talking about my experience and pushing that opportunity that you can buy. You can own your own business. So my working in the manufacturing industry, I learned like a lean manufacturing. I have a lot of experience in business operation. So I designed this business to be a one-man shop. So it's a home-based business that can provide you $6,000 or $10,000 net profit. The market is there is for machines, the CNC machine for carving 3D wooding as a 3D printer, UV printer, and laser. So I design all the machineries to be that way. And I'm working on to build a system that can be, you can do by yourself. You don't
Yeah.
need to, it's not a hard work.
So
Okay.
it's plug and
And
play
how
pretty much.
kind of lessons do you have? I just got a mail this week that I have my registration that I can have a business with the state right now, which
Cool.
is good. So if people, the thing is, they don't tell you what do you need for your business. You saw a lot of advertising. Oh, you can open your LLC. Why you need to open your LLCs? Do you know why? So those information I put in the book as well. List of
Nice.
things that we can do, how to open a business. So it's a straightforward book. It's just simple. But I have the second one. But the point is, I need to sell 3,300 books. That's all I need. Help me out.
There you go, guys. Go help him out. You know, Robinson's given us a lot of stuff today, but you know, go help a guy out so he can then help other people out. You know, as you've heard, that's what it's about. Obviously, does have to make some profit so that he can, you know, pay some bills and, you know, look after his family, but then also looking after other people. I love it. So, last question I have for you, Robinson. If you could hand every man on the planet a single insight that would unlock his potential to lead, love, and live with purpose, what would you tell him?
Love yourself first and love God as first in your life. That's all I can tell you. There's no magical. There's no magical. When God's create us, He created us with love. He created us to be part of His to worship Him, because He said to us, "Look at the birds, look at the animals. They don't work. They don't do a lot, and then He provide everything. But what they do, they are what they are. The bird doesn't want to be a flower. The flower doesn't want to be a cactus. Every single thing in the earth has a purpose. We have a purpose. To know our purpose, I need to love myself because He creates me with the love. If I don't find this love that He gave me, I'm not gonna go anywhere. I'm just gonna doing things and be frustrating every single day and complaining every single day. If I can tell you somebody to do right now something differently, is start loving yourself, and God will meet you. He'll meet you there, because we don't need to. I don't need to tell you where God is, because I'm not God. He knows where you are. But what He wants us to be is to love ourselves and respect that, and that He will meet us where you are, whatever is situation. He will meet you. I truly believe in that, and the Holy Spirit knows that, because the Holy Spirit is like a wind. So we can have a wind in different ways. Just love yourself, because when we love yourself, you're in the position of vulnerability, and that's the moment God's find us.
I love it, man. I love it. Any last words, Robinson?
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate the opportunity. I know you were trying.
We had a few challenges to get here today, but we made it. We made it in the end. It's good.
Thank you, man.
Good.
I appreciate that.
It's been well worth it. I'm gonna put it out there. It's been well worth it, brother. It's been well worth it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm here for you, bro. I'm here for you. I want you make a reference on my website about your job. I want to make a reference on my website on the front page that you are doing that. I think I don't ask you to sponsor me. That's not what I'm saying. But I will do voluntarily to put your information there for others to see it, where we stand for, where
Appreciate
we are, where is our community, where
Yes.
we are. That's what I want to do. So that's what I need to do. And thank you very much.
Appreciate that, brother. Again, everybody listening, watching, thank you for being here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this out. If you just know one person that might, take something, just one thing away. I've said this for years. You just need to take one thing away from this today, and it'll change your life forever. So, just focus on one of the things, one of the little tips or something that resonated with you, and run with it and actually start to implement it, because there's so much knowledge out there. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of podcasts, and you got ChatGPT, you've got all these different things that can give you information. It's not that we're lacking information, it's that we're lacking, action. And so just take some action on one thing today, and I guarantee in a year's time from now, you will be one step or 100 steps closer to where you want to get to. So again, thank you for being here, and we will talk to you all again soon on the next episode.